Jang Tae Hyun's hands were shaking. Not the subtle tremor you could hide by gripping a pen. Not the nervous energy that reads as passion. This was full-body panic, visible from the back row of the Tesla Motors boardroom where 12 executives sat in stone-faced silence. So, the ROI projections. Taehyun clicked to the next slide. It was blank. He clicked again. Also blank. Technical difficulty. Just give me 1 second. Mr. Yang, the CFO interrupted, her voice ice. This is the third time you've presented to us. The first two pitches were flawless. Revolutionary even. But today? She gestured at the screen. You can't explain your own strategy. You contradict your previous recommendations. Frankly, I'm not convinced you even understand the framework you're proposing. 15 minutes later, Taehyun sat alone in his car in the parking garage. $10 million. Gone. His phone buzzed. A text from Lily. What happened in there? Everyone's asking questions. He stared at the message, his mind racing. What had happened? 6 weeks ago, he could close any deal. Now he couldn't string two coherent sentences together. The answer was simple, though Taehyun didn't know it yet. 6 weeks ago, his wife was still saving him. Now she was destroying him. But to understand how a Forbes 30 under 30 CEO could fall this far, this fast, we need to go back 5 years. Back to a glass-walled conference room in Beverly Hills, where Tiffany Jackson sat in the corner taking notes while a man destroyed his own future. Tiffany had been working as an executive assistant at Apex Venture Capital for 8 months, and it wasn't supposed to be her life. The MBA from Wharton, the thesis on digital market disruption that her professors said was publication-worthy, the competing job offers from McKinsey and Bain. All of that was supposed to lead somewhere magnificent. Then her mother had a stroke. Tiffany left everything. The consulting offer, the New York apartment she'd already put a deposit on, the career trajectory she'd spent 6 years building, and moved back to Los Angeles. Her mother needed someone. Her father had passed years ago. Her brother was overseas in the military. It had to be her. For 2 years, Tiffany became a caregiver. Physical therapy appointments, medication schedules, relearning how to speak, how to walk, how to live. She watched her mother fight back from the edge of death, and she was grateful to be there for it. But when her mother finally recovered, walking with only a slight limp and speaking in full sentences again, Tiffany looked at her own life and realized she'd become a stranger to herself. The consulting firms had moved on. Her cohort from Wharton were now senior associates, managers, building the careers she'd sacrificed. She was 29 years old with a prestigious MBA and a 2-year gap on her resume that screamed unreliable. The executive assistant position at Apex Venture Capital wasn't what she wanted, but it was in her field, adjacent to the world she was supposed to be part of. She told herself it was temporary, a foot in the door, a way to prove herself and move up. 8 months later, she was still scheduling meetings and ordering lunch for partners who barely knew her name. She was taking notes during a pitch meeting when Jang Tae Hyun walked in. He was 32, Korean immigrant with a slight accent, dressed in a suit that was almost expensive enough to hide his desperation. His digital marketing agency concept was brilliant, combining data analytics with cultural storytelling to help brands authentically reach diverse markets in LA's multicultural landscape. But his presentation was a train wreck. Tiffany watched him fumble through slides, contradict his own data, and lose the room in under 10 minutes. The partners passed without discussion. She'd seen it happen 100 times. She found him in the building's lobby afterward, sitting on a leather couch, staring at his phone like it held answers. That was fixable, she said. He looked up, startled. Excuse me? Your pitch. It had real potential. You just buried your value proposition under jargon and presented solutions before establishing the problem. She paused. You lost them in the first 3 minutes. Everything after that was just watching you drown. And you are? Someone who sat through too many pitches. Yours wasn't the worst, but it needed structure. Taehyun studied her. Young black woman with a full afro that framed her face like a crown. Professional blazer. Intelligent eyes that saw too much. You work here? Executive assistant. But you understand business strategy? I have an MBA from Wharton. Graduated top 10% of my class. I probably understand strategy better than half the partners in that room. Then why are you... He stopped himself, realizing how insulting the question sounded. Life happens, Tiffany said simply. Family emergency. She career detour. Now I'm trying to find my way back. They talked for an hour in that lobby. Taehyun explained his vision, helping brands navigate LA's complex multicultural markets from Koreatown to South LA to East LA. He'd been in the US for 8 years, built a small client base, but couldn't scale. Every pitch to investors ended the same way. Rejection. Tiffany found herself drawn to his passion, even if his execution was desperately lacking. I can't pay you, he admitted. I'm barely keeping my apartment and my business alive. I wasn't offering to help, but you could. I can see it in the way you broke down my pitch. You know exactly what I did wrong. He leaned forward, intensity radiating from him. What if we made a deal? What kind of deal? Help me build this company. Really build it. Not just quick consulting. Become my partner. Once we hit $5 million in revenue, you become official co-founder and VP of strategy. 50-50 equity split. Your name on everything. Full recognition. Tiffany should have walked away. Should have recognized the red flags in a desperate entrepreneur making promises he might not keep. But she was drowning in a job that wasted her talent. She was filing expense reports while her Wharton classmates were making partner. And Taehyun was offering her something she desperately needed, a way back into the world where her brain actually mattered. I want that in writing, she said. Absolutely. I'll have my lawyer draft the partnership agreement this week. The paperwork never came. There was always a reason. The lawyer was backed up. They needed to establish the company's valuation first. Better to wait until they had real revenue so the equity split was cleaner. Just a few more months. But Tiffany started helping anyway. Small things at first. She'd review his proposals during her lunch breaks at a cafe in Beverly Hills, send back notes, suggest frameworks, fix the most obvious problems in his client presentations. Taehyun's business started winning. Small clients became medium clients. His close rate went from 20% to 65% seemingly overnight. They started dating 4 months after they met. Taehyun was charming when he wanted to be, attentive, full of dreams about their future together. Once the company takes off, we'll travel. Build something amazing. You'll never have to answer someone else's phone again. Tiffany wanted to believe him. They got married 8 months later. A small ceremony at a Korean restaurant in Koreatown with just close friends. Tiffany's mother, recovered and walking with barely a limp now, cried happy tears. He's good for you, her mother said. I can see it. You're alive again. Tiffany felt alive. She was building something, even if her name wasn't on it yet. The partnership agreement was coming. Taehyun promised. Once they hit certain milestones. Once the legal structure was cleaner. Once. She kept helping. Kept fixing his proposals at 2 a.m. while he slept. Kept turning his half-formed ideas into structured strategies that landed clients. Jang Digital Solutions grew. 3 employees became 10. Revenue climbed from barely breaking even to $2 million annually. They moved from his cramped office in a Koreatown strip mall to a real space in Culver City, close to the tech startups and creative agencies that were turning the area into Silicon Beach. Taehyun started getting recognition, a profile in LA Business Journal, speaking invitations at marketing conferences, clients specifically requesting him because of his innovative approach to multicultural marketing. Tiffany's approach, Tiffany's frameworks, Tiffany's late nights turning his enthusiastic chaos into coherent strategy. But her name appeared nowhere. Soon, Taehyun would say when she brought it up, we're almost at $5 million. Once we hit that milestone, we'll make it official. I promise. Year 2 became year 3. 3 became 4. Tiffany told herself to be patient. The company was growing. Their bank account was healthy. They'd bought a beautiful craftsman house in View Park, the historic black neighborhood in the Baldwin Hills, with stunning views of the LA basin. Her mother visited often, proud of what her daughter had helped build. If only she knew how much helping Tiffany was actually doing. By year 4, something had shifted in Taehyun. Success had gone from surprise to expectation. He started believing his own press, started thinking the brilliance was his, that he'd finally found his groove. When Tiffany tried to give him advice directly, at dinner during their morning coffee, in actual conversations, he'd listen politely and then dismiss it. I appreciate your input, babe, but I've been doing this for 4 years now. I've developed instincts for it. Instincts built entirely on her invisible labor. The partnership agreement never materialized. When she pressed, he'd get defensive. Well, why do you need a title? We're married. What's mine is yours. Isn't that enough? It wasn't enough. But Tiffany didn't know how to explain that watching her work be credited to someone else was slowly hollowing her out. Then Lily Wang walked into Jang Digital Solutions. She was 28, sharp, ambitious, with an MBA from USC and family connections throughout LA's Asian business community. Half Chinese, half American, Lily spoke Mandarin fluently and had the kind of polished confidence that came from never having to fight for a seat at the table. Taehyun hired her as marketing director, convinced she was exactly what the company needed to expand into the Asian market. She's brilliant, he told Tiffany after Lily's first week. Really gets the vision. It's like she can read my mind. Tiffany met Lily at the company happy hour in a bar in Culver City. Watched her laugh at Taehyun's jokes just a beat too long. Noticed how she touched his arm when making a point, how she positioned herself in every conversation like she was already running the room. You're being paranoid, Tiffany told herself while nursing a glass of wine. But women always know. The late night started. Big client pitch, important deadline, all hands on deck. Tiffany understood work demands. She'd spent enough late nights herself writing those very pitches. But then came the changed cologne, the deleted texts, the way Taehyun's eyes lit up when Lily's name appeared on his phone. Tiffany hired a private investigator on a Tuesday afternoon, sitting in her car in the Whole Foods parking lot in Ladera Heights. I'm feeling pathetic and desperate and necessary all at once. By Friday, she had photographs. Lily leaving Taehyun's car at 2 a.m. outside her apartment in Koreatown. A weekend business conference in San Francisco that included intimate dinners at expensive restaurants and a shared hotel suite at the Fairmont. Tiffany sat in her home office, the room where she'd spent countless nights building her husband's empire, and looked at the photos spread across her desk. She felt something inside her calcify. Not break. That would come later. This was harder. Colder. She should have stopped helping him then. Any reasonable person would have confronted him, filed for divorce, walked away. But Yang Digital Solutions was in the middle of their biggest expansion. A $15 million deal with a major automotive company looking to reach LA's diverse car buyers. A pitch that could triple their revenue and finally put them at the level where Taehyun had promised to make her a partner. Despite everything, despite the affair, despite the lies, despite 5 years of broken promises, some part of Tiffany still hoped. She wrote the automotive pitch, made it bulletproof, spent 3 weeks researching demographic data, cultural buying patterns, media consumption habits across LA's Korean, Latino, Black, and Chinese communities. created a framework so comprehensive that a trained monkey could execute it. She handed it to Taehyun, watched him skim it for 5 minutes, and listened to him say, "This is great, babe. Really helpful notes." Notes. She'd written a 47-page strategic proposal. He called it notes. He landed the deal. The company exploded. 70 employees. Office expansion into a full floor in Playa Vista. Revenue hitting $12 million annually. Acquisition offers from larger agencies. Taehyun appeared on the cover of Entrepreneur magazine, photographed in front of the LA skyline, looking visionary. The article called him the cultural codebreaker, how one immigrant entrepreneur cracked LA's multicultural market. The article never mentioned Tiffany. Not once. If you're already hooked by this story, hit that subscribe button. We dive deep into narratives that reveal uncomfortable truths twice a week, and you won't want to miss what happens next. 6 months after discovering the affair, Tiffany sat in the audience at the company's annual gala at the Sofitel in Beverly Hills. Black dress, professional smile, a dutiful executive wife playing her part. The room was full of clients, employees, investors, people who believed Jang Tae Hyun was a genius. Taehyun took the stage in his custom Tom Ford suit, confident and commanding. "This has been an incredible year for Jang Digital Solutions," he began, and the crowd applauded. "We've grown beyond anything I imagined when I started this company 7 years ago." 7 years. Tiffany had been with him for 5 of those years, married for 4, building everything for the past 5. "That growth requires new leadership structures," Taehyun continued, "which is why I'm thrilled to announce our new Vice President of Strategy." Tiffany's champagne glass paused halfway to her lips. This was it. After 5 years, he was finally keeping his promise. She'd suffered through the affair, through the humiliation, waiting for this moment. Someone whose insight and innovation have been instrumental in our recent success. Please welcome Lily Wang. The room erupted in applause. Tiffany's vision tunneled. The champagne glass trembled in her hand. Lily glided onto the stage in a red dress, all confidence and satisfaction. She shook Taehyun's hand, too long, too familiar, and leaned into the microphone. "Thank you, Taehyun," Lily said, her voice smooth and practiced. "I'm honored to take on this role. The strategies we've implemented this year have been truly groundbreaking, and I'm excited to build on that foundation." Strategies. The automotive framework that Tiffany had spent 3 weeks perfecting. The entertainment industry pitch that landed them Netflix. The expansion plan for the Asian market that Tiffany had researched and written while Lily was probably in bed with Tiffany's husband. "Of course," Taehyun continued, his hand resting on Lily's lower back in a gesture Tiffany recognized with sickening clarity. "I want to thank my beautiful wife Tiffany for her unwavering support throughout this journey." The spotlight found her. 200 faces turned to look. Tiffany forced her lips into a smile, raised her glass in acknowledgement, felt the last piece of her hope shatter into dust. Support. 5 years of invisible labor. 5 years of sacrificed sleep, postponed dreams, and swallowed pride. 5 years of believing his promises, reduced to a single word, an afterthought. While her husband's mistress accepted the position that was supposed to be Tiffany's, using Tiffany's own work to get there. The spotlight moved on. Taehyun and Lily posed for photographers, looking like the future of marketing innovation. Tiffany set down her champagne glass with deliberate care. She pulled out her phone, scrolled to a message thread she'd left dormant for 3 months. A divorce attorney a friend had recommended. She typed, "I'm ready. Draft the papers." Then she made another decision. No more proposals. No more strategies. No more midnight sessions, fixing Taehyun's incompetence. Starting immediately, Jang Tae Hyun was on his own. She gave it 1 week before he noticed. The cracks appeared on day 4. Taehyun had a pitch meeting with a potential healthcare client in Pasadena, a $3 million contract that should have been routine. See, Tiffany had always prepared detailed research briefs for these meetings: industry analysis, competitor breakdowns, 3 strategic approaches tailored to the client's specific pain points. This time, there was no brief. Taehyun called her from his car on the 110 freeway 15 minutes before the meeting. "Hey babe, did you leave the healthcare pitch notes on my desk? I can't find them anywhere." "I didn't prepare any notes," Tiffany said calmly, sitting in her home office in View Park, filing her nails. A pause. Traffic noise in the background. "What? The meeting's in 15 minutes. Then you should probably review your own research." "Tiffany, this isn't funny. I need those notes. You always—" "I always what? Do your job for you?" Her voice remained calm, almost pleasant. "I'm sure you'll be fine. You're a natural. What, remember? Industry visionary. That's what Entrepreneur magazine said." "Baby, come on. This is important." "Then it's important that you handle it yourself. Good luck." She hung up. He called back twice. She declined both calls. The healthcare meeting was a disaster. Taehyun winged it, relying on charm and generic marketing speak. The clients asked specific questions about HIPAA compliance in digital marketing, about reaching elderly patients versus millennials, about ROI metrics in healthcare advertising. Taehyun fumbled every answer. They went with a competitor. "What happened?" Lily demanded when Taehyun returned to the Playa Vista office, panic barely concealed beneath her professional veneer. "You said this was a done deal." "Just an off day," he muttered, retreating to his office. But off days were becoming a pattern. Week 2 brought the pharmaceutical pitch, a major player looking to launch a new medication targeted at LA's diverse population. Taehyun stayed up late the night before, trying to recreate the kind of strategic frameworks Tiffany used to provide. He fell asleep at his desk at 2 a.m. with half-finished slides and ideas that went nowhere. The presentation the next morning was incoherent. He contradicted himself within the first 10 minutes. When the clients asked about demographic targeting strategies, he gave answers that made no sense. When they pressed about cultural sensitivity and medical advertising, he spouted buzzwords without substance. Another deal lost. By week 3, the office was buzzing with concern. Jang Tae Hyun, the genius CEO who could close anything, was suddenly bombing pitch after pitch. Lily was panicking. As the new VP of strategy, she was expected to step up, to showcase the brilliance that had earned her the promotion. But Lily's strengths were in presentation and networking, not substance. She'd been riding on Taehyun's success, which meant she'd actually been riding on Tiffany's invisible labor. Now they were both drowning. Week 4 brought the Tesla meeting. The big one. $10 million. Expansion into electric vehicle marketing across California. Taehyun had prepared obsessively, but without Tiffany's frameworks, his preparation was just anxiety and hope. In the Tesla boardroom, his hands shook. His slides were blank. He'd forgotten to finalize the presentation deck. His answers contradicted his own data. When the executives asked him to explain his strategic framework, he couldn't, because he'd never actually created one himself. $10 million. Gone. He sat in his car in the parking garage afterward, head in his hands, world crumbling. His phone buzzed. A message from the company's COO. Board meeting next week. They have serious concerns about recent performance. Taehyun tried one more time to get Tiffany's help. He came home early to their View Park house, flowers from the Trader Joe's on La Brea in hand, remorse painted on his face. "Baby, we need to talk." Tiffany looked up from her laptop at the kitchen table, her afro pulled back with a silk scarf. "About what?" "I know I've been distant. Work has been insane, and I haven't been present in our marriage. I'm sorry. Not sorry for the affair, not sorry for stealing credit, not sorry for breaking his promise. Just sorry for being distant. I need your help with something, he continued, setting the flowers on the counter. That biotech firm we've been courting? They want a proposal by Friday. I'm slammed. Could you take a look? Your eye for detail would be huge. Tiffany closed her laptop, looked at her husband, really looked at him, and saw him clearly for the first time in 5 years. Not the passionate entrepreneur she'd fallen for, not the partner he'd promised to be. Just a man who'd built an empire on her back and was now begging her to keep carrying him. No, she said simply. What? I said no, Taehyun. I'm not helping you anymore. His confusion was almost amusing. I don't understand. You've always what? Always fixed your mistakes? Always written your pitches while you slept? Always made you look like a genius while you took all the credit and gave me nothing? Her voice was calm, surgical in its precision. That's over. Tiffany, come on. This is our company. Our livelihood. No. She stood, gathering her laptop. It's your company. You've made that abundantly clear. You promised me partnership 5 years ago. 50-50 split, VP of strategy, my name on everything. Instead, you gave that position to your mistress. The color drained from his face. How did you really think I wouldn't know? She laughed, a sound without humor. I've known for 6 months. I have photos, Taehyun, hotels, restaurants, her apartment. I know everything. Baby, I can explain. I don't want explanations. I want you to figure out who you are without me propping you up. Good luck with that biotech proposal. Good luck with all of it. She walked past him, up the stairs to their bedroom, and closed the door. Taehyun stood in the kitchen, flowers wilting on the counter, his world falling apart. The biotech proposal was a disaster. Submitted 3 days late, full of generic claims and no actual strategy. The client rejected it within hours. By week 6, the board called an emergency meeting. Taehyun sat at the head of the conference table in their Playa Vista office, trying to project confidence while everything crumbled. 8 board members, seasoned investors and advisors who'd bet millions on his supposed genius, stared at him with barely concealed frustration. 6 major deals lost in 6 weeks, the lead investor Patricia Chen stated flatly. Revenue projections down 40%. Client complaints about inconsistent quality and missed deadlines. Taehyun, what the hell is happening? Market fluctuations, he tried, his voice less certain than usual. Increased competition. We're pivoting our approach to... Your approach? Another board member, David Kim, cut in. Let's talk about your approach. For 5 years, your proposals were masterpieces. Industry-leading strategy. Publications wrote about your frameworks. Now they read like an undergraduate's first marketing assignment. We're experiencing a transitional period with the new VP. Speaking of which, Patricia interrupted, where is Ms. Wang? She should be here defending the strategic decisions she's supposedly making. Lily was conspicuously absent, called in sick that morning. We're bringing in external consultants to audit the company's operations, David announced. Standard procedure during performance crises. They'll examine everything: financials, proposals, workflow, personnel. Taehyun's blood ran cold. Is that really necessary? Your investors think so, Patricia said. Unless you can explain right now why your performance fell off a cliff the moment you promoted your VP of strategy? He had no explanation. At least, none he could say out loud. The consultants spent 2 weeks examining everything, and they found something interesting. Every major strategic document, every winning proposal, every innovative framework that had built Jang Digital Solutions from nothing to a $12 million company had one thing in common. They were all created, edited, and were significantly modified from the same IP address. A residential address in View Park, Taehyun and Tiffany's home. The document metadata told a story. Files created at 1 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m. Last modified by user T. Jackson. Sent from Tiffany's personal email to Taehyun's work email, with subject lines like, final version, use this, fix the framework issues, and this is what you should present. 5 years of evidence, hundreds of documents, thousands of hours of work, all pointing to the same conclusion. Jang Tae Hyun hadn't built his company. His wife had. The consultants presented their findings to the board in a closed session. Taehyun wasn't invited. Neither was Lily. Though what they found about her was almost as damning. Her contributions to major projects consisted primarily of reformatting existing documents, on presenting strategies she didn't create, and taking credit in meetings for work that traced back to Tiffany. The board called Tiffany in for a meeting. She walked into the Playa Vista conference room wearing a crisp white blouse and black slacks, her afro perfectly shaped, her bearing confident. She knew this moment was coming. She'd been preparing for it. Mrs. Jang, Patricia began carefully, we'd like to discuss some findings from our operational audit. I assume you discovered that I've been doing my husband's job for 5 years, Tiffany said calmly, taking a seat. The room went silent. Drop a like if you're absolutely here for what's about to happen, because Tiffany is done playing small. So you admit it, David said carefully. I don't need to admit anything. The evidence speaks for itself. Tiffany opened her own laptop, pulled up a file, and projected it onto the screen. Every major proposal, every strategic framework, every innovative approach that made this company successful. Time-stamped, documented, saved. I have the original files, the research notes, the iteration history. Would you like to see? She walked them through it methodically. The automotive pitch that landed them $15 million. Her work, completed over 3 weeks while Taehyun was taking Lily to Nobu in Malibu. The entertainment industry framework, created during a sleepless weekend while he was at a conference in San Diego. The expansion strategy that tripled their employee count, written in her home office at 3 a.m. on a Wednesday. Why? Patricia asked, genuinely confused. Why do all this and let him take credit? Tiffany's smile was sad. Because he promised me partnership, 50-50 equity, VP of strategy, my name on everything. We had an agreement. Once the company hit $5 million in revenue, I'd be official. Did you have this in writing? He said his lawyer was drafting it. The paperwork never came. There was always a reason to wait. Just one more quarter. Just one more milestone. She paused. I believed him. I thought we were building something together. I was wrong. And now? David leaned forward. Now I'm done. I stopped helping 6 weeks ago. As you've noticed. The board members exchanged glances. The timeline matched perfectly with Taehyun's sudden incompetence. We need to discuss next steps, Patricia said carefully. Before you do, Tiffany interrupted, you should know that I've filed for divorce, and I've started my own consulting firm. 8 of your current clients have already reached out to me, independently. They want to work with the person who actually created the strategies that grew their businesses. She let that information settle over the room like a bomb. I've declined their offers for now, citing conflict of interest during the divorce. But once it's finalized and I receive my settlement, she shrugged elegantly, I'll be free to accept. It was a power play, perfectly executed. The board recognized it immediately. Tiffany stood, closed her laptop. I just wanted you to know the truth before you make decisions about the company's future. What you do with that information is up to you. She walked to the door. Mrs. Jang, Patricia called out. Would you consider staying? Not in the shadows this time. Officially. As CEO, perhaps? Tiffany paused, turned back. For a moment she considered it. The vindication, the recognition, everything she'd deserved for 5 years. I appreciate the offer, she said finally, but I'm done building other people's empires. It's time to build something that's actually mine. She left. The board sat in stunned silence for a full minute. "Call an emergency shareholder meeting," Patricia said quietly. "This company is about to implode." The confrontation happened 3 days later. The board called Taehyun and Lily into the conference room. This time, Tiffany was invited as a witness. She sat in the corner, quiet, observing. "We've completed our operational audit," Patricia began without preamble. "And we need to address some serious concerns about the company's leadership and strategic capabilities." Taehyun tried to smile, but it came out wrong. "Happy to discuss any findings. Are you aware that your wife created virtually every major strategic document for this company over the past 5 years?" The smile died. "I'm sorry, what?" They showed him everything: the metadata, the email trails, the timestamps proving that while he slept, Tiffany worked. While he took credit, she created. "This is—" Taehyun looked desperately at Tiffany. "Honey, tell them this is a misunderstanding. You helped, sure, but—" Tiffany said nothing. Just looked at him with those intelligent eyes that had seen through him long ago. "Mr. Jang," David continued coldly, "the evidence is irrefutable. The question isn't whether your wife did the work. The question is, did you know? Were you deliberately committing fraud? Or are you simply incompetent?" Taehyun's face cycled through emotions: shock, denial, anger, fear. "Even if Tiffany helped more than I realized, it doesn't change the fact that I closed those deals. I built the relationships. I'm the face of this company." "A face reading someone else's script," Patricia said. "And now that the scriptwriter is gone, you can't even finish a pitch meeting." They turned to Lily. "And you, Ms. Wang. Your promotion to VP of Strategy was based on contributions you allegedly made. Can you walk us through the strategic framework you developed for the automotive account? The one you presented to the board 3 months ago?" Lily straightened, tried to project confidence. "Of course. It was a multi-tiered approach focusing on demographic segmentation across—" "Stop." David held up a hand. "That's a rehearsed pitch. We want to know how you developed the underlying framework. Walk us through your strategic process. What research methodologies did you use? What data sources? How did you identify the key cultural insights?" Lily floundered. She talked in circles, threw out buzzwords without substance, contradicted herself twice in 3 minutes. It was painful to watch. "I see," Patricia said quietly. "Here's what's going to happen. Mr. Jang, you're being removed as CEO effective immediately. You'll retain the title of founder and a board seat, but you will have no operational authority. We're bringing in an interim CEO while we search for permanent leadership." Taehyun's face went white. "You can't do this. I built this company from nothing." "No," Tiffany spoke for the first time, her voice cutting through his protest. "I built this company from nothing. You just put your name on it." The room fell silent. "Ms. Wang," Patricia continued, "your employment is being terminated for cause, effective immediately. Security will escort you out today." Lily stood abruptly, her composure finally cracking. "This is insane. Taehyun, tell them." But Taehyun wasn't looking at her. He was staring at Tiffany, who met his gaze with calm, cold certainty. "We're done here," Patricia said. "Mr. Jang, Miss Wang, please leave. Mrs. Jang, if you could stay for a moment." Taehyun and Lily left, Lily's heels clicking sharply on the floor, Taehyun moving like a man in a nightmare. When the door closed, Patricia turned to Tiffany. "Are you absolutely certain you won't stay? We could structure it any way you want. CEO, Chief Strategy Officer, full equity stake." Tiffany shook her head. "I appreciate it, but I meant what I said. I'm done making other people successful while staying invisible." She gathered her things and walked out of Jang Digital Solutions for the last time. In the parking lot, Taehyun was waiting by her car. "Tiffany, please. We need to talk about this." There's nothing to talk about. I can fix this. We can fix this. The company, our marriage, everything. She looked at him, really looked at him, and felt nothing. Not love, not hate, just exhaustion. You can't fix what you broke, Taehyun. You promised me partnership and gave me invisibility. You promised me recognition and gave me your mistress's promotion. You built an empire on my back and never once thought to share the credit. I didn't know. I didn't realize how much you were doing. Yes, you did. Her voice was quiet but certain. Maybe not at first. But after year 2, year 3, you knew. You just didn't care because it benefited you. That's not fair. You'll receive divorce papers next week. My lawyer will be in touch about asset division. 50% of the company is legally mine as your spouse. I'll be selling my shares. Tiffany. Goodbye, Taehyun. She got in her car and drove away, watching him disappear in her rearview mirror. 6 months later, Tiffany Jackson stood in her own office. A beautiful space in a converted loft in the Arts District exposed brick and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking downtown LA. And Jackson Strategic Consulting had launched quietly and grown explosively. Within the first month, she'd signed 4 major clients, 3 of them former Jang Digital Solutions accounts, who'd quietly reached out once the truth became public. Within 3 months, she had a waiting list and was hiring her first employees. The business world had finally learned what Taehyun had known and exploited. Tiffany Jackson was a strategic genius. Forbes ran a feature, The Invisible Architect, How Tiffany Jackson Built an Empire from the Shadows, and her next act. The article detailed everything: the broken promises, the stolen credit, the 5 years of invisible labor. It went viral, sparking conversations about women's invisible work, intellectual property and relationships, and the exploitation of talent. Clients who'd worked with Jang Digital Solutions suddenly understood why the quality had collapsed. They reached out to Tiffany. She was selective, professional, and expensive. Very expensive. Her consulting fees exceeded anything she could have made at McKinsey. Universities invited her to speak. Business schools taught her story as a case study in intellectual property and professional ethics. Tiffany's afro became iconic in LA's business circles. She refused to code switch or diminish herself for corporate comfort. She showed up exactly as she was: brilliant, black, and unapologetic. The divorce was finalized on a Tuesday morning in a downtown LA courtroom. Tiffany received 50% of Jang Digital Solutions' valuation at its peak, $6 million. She immediately invested it in expanding her firm, hiring top talent, and buying the Arts District loft outright. Taehyun was left with his title, his diminished company, and the industry reputation of a fraud. Jang Digital Solutions continued to struggle. The interim CEO couldn't stop the bleeding. Clients continued to leave. The company that had once been valued at $25 million was sold 18 months later for $4 million, a fraction of its worth. Taehyun's share after debts and investor payouts was barely enough to buy a condo in Koreatown. Lily Wang disappeared from LA entirely. Last anyone heard, she was in Seattle, her LinkedIn carefully scrubbed of the VP title that had never been earned. 1 year after the confrontation, Tiffany hosted a celebration for Jackson Strategic Consulting's first anniversary. 50 employees, all hired for genuine talent and given full credit for their work. Clients who respected her. A company built on her name, her reputation, her actual labor. Her mother was there, walking without even a limp now, beaming with pride. "I always knew you were special," she told Tiffany. "I just wish you hadn't had to learn the hard way that some people will take everything you give and still ask for more." Tiffany hugged her mother. "I learned. That's what matters." As the celebration wound down and LA's city lights sparkled through the windows, Tiffany stood in her office, her office, with her name on the door, and allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. She'd lost 5 years to a man who'd treated her brilliance like a resource to mine. But she'd gained something more valuable, the absolute certainty that she would never again make herself small for someone else's success. Taehyun had built nothing. More, she'd built everything. And now finally the world knew whose genius it had been, all along. Tiffany Jackson, senior strategist, MBA from Wharton, founder and CEO. The woman who'd been invisible for too long was now impossible to ignore. And she was just getting started. If this story resonated with you, subscribe to this channel for more powerful narratives about people who refuse to stay in the shadows. Drop a comment about Tiffany's journey, and remember, your brilliance isn't meant to make someone else shine. It's meant to light up the world with your name on it. Thanks for watching.